important, their willingness to perform well. So that thanks to that, they can ensure that they can have a best selection of qualified staff, and much more important, the one who has good attitude to perform well. And at the hospital, they do not only like put the external customer, the patient, in the heart of their business strategy, but they also do the same thing with their internal customer, the employees. And so that they provide them with training, they enable the employee to perform more than their job. And they also successfully build up a culture of mutual learning and cooperating. Anytime anyone encounters anything unusual, they can consult each other, teach the other, and help each other. And much more important, they also offer good wages and benefits. They always remain a higher pay in comparison with other jobs in the area. And I think they also take into account all of the employees' concerns. They try to design the working procedure very reasonable so that the employee can have the time break in the working time, and they also have the time for their own family. And the hospital now, they have a very qualified, professional, dedicated, accessible workforce, and in turn, they have to run the operation perfectly to deliver the promise to the customer. And you can see that they also have a very good internal communication, so that the marketing, the operation, and human resources, they go a long way with each other. So marketing just makes a promise exactly as operation can do in reality. And although they just have one kind of communication channel, that's in the customer word of mouth, but in turn, the customer all turn to their volunteer and ambassador and have them to get more success in operation.
Thank you. You have to stop you now. Right. Okay. Sarah, do you want to go first?
Yes, can you go back to the first slide, please? If you could just expand on some of these challenges a little bit more. Why specifically is having a simplistic operation, why is that a challenge?
Because that, in terms of like what the customers perceive, it can be seen that why should I go to that hospital and not go to somewhere else where it's like closer? What is the cost of me going to that trip? Let's say we take the ones that the 10% that is coming out from USA to Toronto, like the 10% that go there.
So do you mean it's perceived as being a negative thing? That it's
It can be perceived as a negative thing, as
and also, why do you have there that no referrals from other doctors is a challenge?
because usually when you go to the hospital and you're looking for like you're asking for reassurance from the doctor, and doctors tell you where to go if they think that that hospital, I mean, is going to be much better to provide you what you require. And that's like what I said, that because the other doctors in the case study says that it's really simplistic, they do not give any referrals. So that is another challenge for because they only rely on word of mouth. And if that word of mouth becomes a bad word of mouth, then there's a multiplier effect, and that diminishes the whole purpose of what this case study is about, because they only rely on marketing with word of mouth.
Okay. So you're saying if both of those were perceived in a negative way, they might have less customers, and that would affect word of mouth. Do you think that's a problem they've got at the moment, though? Do you think they're under capacity or over? Do you think they've got too many customers or not enough?
I think they have just enough, because if they go over it, then the service quality is going to diminish a lot. Because when you just go over the capacity, it's going to be the staff may stop going acting like as they have, and that all the unique experience that they provide, which is basically like the the staff is like the co-producer, the competitive advantage of the hospital. If that stops being the competitive advantage, then.
Okay, and just one more question regarding word of mouth, and that's been identified as an important thing in this case. Why, apart from a negative view of word of mouth, how can having positive word of mouth also be a challenge?
How can it be positive?
I think the word of mouth is important in this case, and although most of them are positive for the hospital, but in this case, I think because they also have some competitors who try to imitate their technique. So in this case, I think just rely on just one kind of communication channel may be very dangerous. cannot protect their brand. So if like they can have more like visual or any kind of things communication to protect their brands much stronger. So it can like to deal with like the opposite side of the word of mouth communication.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add to
Yes,
what
certainly,
you're
yeah.
saying? It's like, well, if you just have only word of mouth, then it's really good. If it's formal word of mouth, not informal, that formal word of mouth to some customer is gonna start saying like, so why is it really good? Why is it keep going like that? Formal word of mouth may in time like become a challenge to them and act as a negative marketing strategy.
And I think positive word of mouth can be a challenge because, like, if it's positive and you have more customers to be coming into the hospital, maybe they won't have like the capacity they have, the facilities they have wouldn't be enough for them to actually cater for the patients they have. So if they're going to continue marketing their product, I think they have to expand, which expanding has to do with so many things. They have to do more research on how to improve their products, how to expand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I go back to this no means of marketing other than word of mouth? You pick it up as a challenge, and then you'll say how to overcome is do not overpromise. For me, these two don't match. Because if you're saying, and your points you make are very valid, that you're saying, positive word of mouth may have a negative problem. It may lead to issues of capacity utilization. But just be a bit mindful when you make something so blatant and so explicit. No means of marketing other than word of mouth is a challenge. How to overcome it is do not overpromise. It's saying, do you like the banana? And the answer is fruits are generally good. Okay? You're not really picking up on what you outline as your challenge and then looking at how therefore can I use the techniques to overcome the challenges. In our discussions, it is inherently clear you understand how to overcome the challenges. So that's good. However, when you don't put something that might steer us off in a different direction. Okay? Could you take me back to the slide on the 7 Ps, please? Sorry, the slide on service quality, so 2 after this. The next one. Okay, can you remind me what we talked about tangibles? You talked about 3 things in tangibles.
Yeah, the physical evidence, like, and the communication and the shared facilities.
Okay, why are you putting assurance, communication in tangibles? I can see the take, but I want you to make the take explicit.
Because the communication can be from every part in the process or everywhere in the hospital, and it's a very important part to the process and to the service, the feeling.
So where normally communication doesn't come under tangibles, where does communication come under?
Empathy.
So when I can see why you're saying that, but the moment you say communication, you might want to say the printed communication, the actual tangible evidence that I see, so the actual paper that I see about the procedure or the questionnaire. Because when you say tangible and you say communication, it leads me to think otherwise. Okay? So, and what was the other thing you said?
For technical, physical evidence and the facility, the shared facility.
What facilities?
The shared facility like kitchen, the shared with staff.
That for me is not, it is the layout, but it's not, how does it affect? It's a tangible thing, but how does it affect your service quality? What of the dimensions does it affect? Absolutely.
I think it might also reflect back to empathy.
Good.
In the sense that they have the customers and the employees dining in the same area,
Good.
which means they're equal in terms of usually hospital food is perceived as bad, and now they're both experiencing the same thing.
Fantastic. So that's the kind of analysis I want you to get to. Okay? Not just saying what is responsibility. That's okay at an undergraduate level. What is responsibility? But I want you to make interrelationships between concepts. And I really like when you went, Irina, when you went to your slide and you talked about the 7 Ps, and you talked about how the 7 Ps and the service quality dimensions are interrelated. And the same, I think, Celia closed with that. And that's a very important message, that not everything is distinct here. Okay, but I want you to make those connections now. Okay, so I don't want to push you, you need to make them yourself. Right, if you go to the last slide, okay, why was there so much focus on HR and not so much on operations in your slide?
Because I think like no matter how the layout of the process is designed, if the staff they do not remain their satisfaction on the job site.
But that's gap 3,
Yeah,
isn't it?
They cannot deliver the promise.
So are you saying to me that gap 3 is the most important gap?
Yeah, I think so, especially in this case study at the hospital, because because the staff will be the one interact directly with the customer, and the customer, like in the case study, lots of interaction with the customer with the patient from when they first enter the hospital until they left the hospital.
Good. It's interesting you take that stand, and there's nothing wrong in that answer at all. However, when you make a specific gap seem larger than the other two, there is no evidence of that in the case, but that's your take, which is fine. I need you to justify the others too, and having done that, give evidence for the other two, then say, these are the 3, this is how it looks, but as far as I think, I understand it, this is the most important. Okay? Because if I didn't know the case, I think that the case has talked only about that and not of the other 2. Okay? Just something for the future. Alright? Thank you. Thank you for putting your pineapple in. It's helpful.